Just so we get started, how many of you, so I get a feel for what we have in the room here, how many of you are musicians who actually perform and play out live? All right, looks like about half the room, maybe a little more. That's good. How many of you have made a CD before? All right, good. Now, Michael's going to talk about the A&R Weasel stuff, as he said, and you know, I'm not a big fan of the record labels. I'm going to talk really about what you can do as an independent artist to increase your CD sales and to really be able to significantly increase your income, your revenues from your music. But record labels, much maligned as they are, do serve an important function in the music industry. They give you access to promotion and distribution. In other words, they get the word out about you. Now, they get the word out about you at a price, because after all, your sales are going to have to fund their fancy offices, their executive salaries, their perks. And in fact, I was reading an article once and where they tried to do a little breakdown, a financial breakdown of what a major label artist typically makes when their record goes gold. I think everybody here knows gold record is 500,000 units. So at, you know, let's call it, for nice round numbers, an average sales price of $15, that's $7.5 million in revenues at retail, right? So the article states that after the artist gets their royalties, and then the major label takes out the advances for recording, takes out funds for tour support, for merchandise, and all that good stuff, all the expenses. A typical artist whose record goes gold earns $40,000. Where did the other 1.496 million go? Or 14, whatever. So that got me thinking, how much do you need to sell as an independent artist to make $40,000? And I did a little back of the envelope, and I figured if you have a nice fat $20,000 recording budget, which is, is that nice fat recording budget? Yeah. And you sell your CDs on average for $8. That's a blend of selling them maybe for $12 at your gigs, and you may sell them for $7 or $6 to a distributor. An average blended cost of $8. You need to sell about 8,000 CDs to clear 40 grand. If you have a smaller recording budget, you sell them for $9 or $10. You can do it with as few as 5,000 CDs. So that's quite a difference. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it's easy to sell 5,000 or 8,000 CDs, because it's not. Anybody here sold 5,000 CDs? Okay, there you go. Just goes to prove it's not easy to sell 5,000 CDs. But I can tell you it's a lot easier to sell 5,000 CDs than it is to sell 500,000. So nobody in the industry today disputes that really the best way for you to kickstart your career as a musician and for you to make the most of your opportunities is to start doing it yourself, and to do it yourself as long as possible. How are you going to sell these 5,000 CDs on your own? By marketing yourself. So I'm going to start and talk a little bit about marketing and start really at the top of the mountain. What is marketing? Marketing is basically the pricing, promotion, and selling of your product to achieve your goals. It's really very simple. In plain English, it's anything that you have to do to sell your product or your service or your idea whether it's a box of Tide or a can of Coke or a BMW, or your song, your CD, or your performance. And in order for marketing to be effective, it's got to do 4 things. 1, it's got to let people know that you exist. Right? You're all unknown artists. So the first step is people have to know that you exist. 2, actually, let me ask you a question. Once somebody finds out about you as an artist, what's the next thing that happens? Anybody? They want your music. No. What's anybody else? Nobody. They smile. What style? They'll ask what style. No. The first thing that's going to likely happen after somebody hears about you and finds out about you is they're going to forget about you. They heard your name once or they saw you once and they walk out the door of the concert, they had a couple of beers and they're like, oh, that guy was pretty good. What was his name again? So that's the second thing that marketing's got to do. It's got to remind people of who you are. Then the third thing is it's got to give them a reason to buy from you. And the fourth thing is it's got to sell them. It's very simple. Let people know you exist. Remind them of that fact. Give them a reason to buy from you. And then give them an opportunity to buy it. And it all starts with knowing who your target audience is. As an artist, you have to own a piece of real estate in your customer's mind. Your customer is your fan. People talk about fans. Think about them as customers. Because the point, obviously, is to get them to buy something from you. So how do you do that? How do you get that piece of real estate? First, you start by figuring out and defining what's known as your unique selling proposition, or USP. It's what makes you different. What's truly unique about you. How can you describe yourself in one sentence? And does that description tell people what's truly unique about you? If some other artist can say the same thing, it's not unique to you. It's not your unique selling proposition. To rise above the clutter, you need this. You need something that really makes you unique. Companies do that all the time. Taxi has a USP. They're the only company that gives independents significant access to income opportunities from record labels, from publishing companies, and so on and so forth. Discmakers, USP, is CD and DVD manufacturing made easy. We do it faster than anybody else. You get great promo tools like posters for 99 bucks. These are all things that are unique that you can't get elsewhere. Volvo, when you hear Volvo, what do you think? Safety, exactly, that's their USP. When you think J-Lo, what do you think? What do you think? Booty. Hey, you know what? You're not going to pay attention to J-Lo for her voice. So, whatever it takes. The USP does not have to be directly related to your music necessarily. It's about you. You are the product as an artist. Then, when you have your USP, you need to get folks to hear you. There's this thing called the rule of contraction that, Michael and I were talking about this. The rule of contraction says, don't try to be everything to everybody. You got to pick your niche. I was once at a Taxi Road rally, and some kid came up to me after a panel and said, hey, I'm in Miami. I'm trying to, become popular. Can you give me some tips? And I asked, what genre do you play? And he says, pop. I didn't know what to tell him. I mean, becoming known in a genre that huge, whether it's pop or rock or alternative, it's really, really very difficult. What you got to do is you got to define a narrow niche that you can come to dominate, or where you can really get your word out. So a lot of artists do this. you know, they start with a narrow niche. As they become better known, they broaden their sound so it has more appeal to a wider audience, and then eventually, you know, they can go completely mass market. It's a process that takes many years. You know, Metallica is a good example. You know, they started in the early 80s. You know, they weren't hardcore, they weren't hair metal. They got this tiny little niche at that time, hardcore metal. And over the years, their songs became more accessible, and something very fortunate happened to them in particular that happens to other genres as well, which is the whole market kind of gravitated and became more open to that particular kind of sound. So you start narrow, and then eventually, as you have notoriety in your niche, you're trying to get notoriety in a positive way, usually. You can broaden your sound, and your fans who were your fans from before, hopefully, unless you've changed so radically, will still like your stuff and buy it. In fact, you don't have to join an existing niche. You can invent your own niche. The leaders become noticed. You know, followers, as an also-ran, you can have success sometimes, but as a leader with a new niche, you can really become noticed. Think about, you know, an artist like Nirvana, or going way back, the Beatles. Michael was telling me about an artist called Dave Fetter. You remember telling me that story?
Don't remember.
No. Well, he plays acoustic guitar, and he invented his own genre called hillbilly flamenco. I thought that was pretty smart. If I like acoustic music and I hear hillbilly flamenco, I can kind of picture more or less what it sounds like, and it intrigues me to really find out a little more. So if you don't want to join an existing genre, feel free to invent your own. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about a mailing list, maintaining, building a mailing list, a database. You know, marketing is like having a conversation. You need to have a dialogue between yourself and your customers. In order to do that, you need to know who your customers are, right? Remember the second thing that happens after a prospect finds out about you? They forget about you. So you got to remind them that you exist. How are you going to remind them if you don't know who they are? That's where your database comes in and your mailing list comes in. You need to build up a database. You need to ask folks at every opportunity that you get to sign up for your database. Start with your website. Have a sign-up form on your website. How many of you have a website? Okay. Link to your website from every piece of merch, every product that you make, your banners. Put your URL on your banners. Put it on the back of your CD trade cards. Put it on your stickers. Put it on your T-shirts. Get people there. Offer them an incentive to sign up. You know, offer them a free sticker or something like that, or you know, have a drawing or a contest. Give them a reason to sign up, and tell them what they're going to get. You know, you need to give them something of value, some information. If they like you enough to sign up, they're going to want to find out about you. So there's a couple of programs that you want. You don't want to, you know, maintain your database on an Excel worksheet or in, you know, some word processing document. You want to get a database program like FileMaker Pro, which it's about $300 at retail. You go to eBay, you can probably pick it up for $40 or something like that. Microsoft Works or Claris Works comes with a lot of PCs. That'll do the trick. Collect all the information that you can. You want to have areas in your database for first name, last name, separate fields, 2 street lines, city, state, zip. Email, probably the most important thing that you can collect. I mean, email is a great tool, one of the greatest tools ever for marketing yourself. When I was playing We were licking stamps for our newsletter. Cost us money Xeroxing and mailing to mail to our whole fan list, which was in the hundreds, and now it's free. It's virtually free, so it's a great tool.
If I can jump in for a second, that's why you guys are all here tonight. Email.
One of the key things that you want, no pun intended, with your mailing list is a field for keywords. What's a keyword? A keyword is basically a descriptor, something that describes the category of folks who are on your list. So it could be drummer, or it could be booking agent, or DJ, or program director. And everybody who's a program director, you want to tag them with that program director keyword, so that when your next CD comes out and you want to do a mailing to the program directors and to the DJs you just select your database, you select all the records that are program directors, voila, you're ready to go with your mailing. It's a piece of cake. What to mail? What are you going to mail these folks or email them? Remember what I said about marketing being like a conversation? For a conversation to work, interesting information has to be exchanged. Now, you're fortunate. If you have a mailing list, how many of you have a mailing list? All right. Anybody have a mailing list of over 500? 1,000? Excellent. 2,000? Wow. Very impressive. You have 2,000 people who are interested enough in knowing stuff about you that they give you their contact information and they say, please spam me. Now, you don't want to spam them. What you don't want to do is hit them with nothing but commercial or e-commerce related messages. Buy my CD, buy my CD, buy my CD. After they get 2 or 3 of those, they'll unsubscribe or they'll direct your emails right to their spam folder, and that'll be the end of that. You have to have what's known in the marketing industry as a value-added communication. You have to give folks value just with the stuff that they can read. And of course, you can mix commerce into that, because the ultimate goal is for people to come to your shows, for people to buy your CDs, for people to buy your merch. But you have to give them something of value. That could be what's going on with you. A lot of artists, they talk about what they're doing in the studio, what they're doing on the road. You can direct folks to your website. A lot of artists right now are blogging while they're on the road, putting up photos of their performances. People are interested in finding out that kind of stuff. By the way, when you perform live, make sure that you mention that you're taking sign-ups for your mailing list. It's amazing. If you tell people what to do, chances are they'll do it. So when you're up on stage every time, mention, hey, we got a weekly newsletter or monthly newsletter. Sign up for our newsletter. There's a sign-up form at the table in the back. It's a great way, an easy way to collect names and to collect information. Now, conversation is one-on-one. The same holds true when you're sending out your emails, even if you're sending your emails to 2,000 people. When I write emails for disc makers, I know that the email is going to go out to over 100,000 people. And what I do is I sit down to write, and I picture one customer in my mind. And I write a personal letter to that one customer. And I really try to make it a personal letter. And that's what you have to do. You have to picture one person, write to that one person. Don't address your email as "Dear Fans." The recipient is not going to be a fans. You need to have a web host with email capability where you can do a mail merge so that all those first names in that first name field, and that's why you need a separate first and last name, can be dragged right into or streamed right into the email greeting. So it's Dear Jason or Dear Amy. It's personal. You want to write it like a personal letter. It's vitally important when you get into database marketing, which is what this is. I know it sounds like business, but we're not talking tonight about how to write a better song. We're talking about the business of music. When you're into the business of database marketing, you have to learn to write copy like a pro. Writing copy is not very different from writing songs. I'm sure the last song you wrote was a lot better crafted, had a better hook, flowed better than the first song you ever wrote. And the same is going to be true with the newsletter that you write or the emails that you write. You got to start somewhere. Start writing. Think of something interesting that one fan would find interesting about you. Heck, it doesn't even have to be about about music. If you have thoughts about the war in Iraq and your fans feel like you, go on a rant. Try it. You may lose some fans, but you may gain some fans. Write something, have somebody you trust check it, give you feedback, tweak it, and then try it. And just keep doing it and keep practicing until you develop your voice. Sign up for other artist newsletters, see what they do. Steal their great ideas, make them yours, apply them to what you do or what you want to do, and you'll see you'll get more and more comfortable with it over time. Now, all that database work and newsletter writing has as a goal to get folks to buy your CDs and to come out to concerts. Now, I think about at least half of you are performing live, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some interesting places and opportunities to perform live. Because the best way for you as an artist to make money from your music is to sell product at your performances. First off, and this may be common sense, when you're performing, be a pro. That's a request. That's not a statement. You want your fans who come to a concert to feel appreciated, to feel that you're happy that they're there. You want to make every performance memorable to the fans. You want to be into it. You want to be excited. You don't want to be motioning angrily at the house sound man. You're laughing. I guess you've seen that before. You don't want to be boring. You want folks, when you ask them to sign up for your email newsletter, to say, hey, that guy's pretty cool. I think I'll do that. Or even better, when you ask them to buy your CD for $10 at the table in the back, you want them to walk over and pull out $10. So you got to give them a worthwhile experience. Another tip, if you're a new artist, you're likely starting out, opening up for some other artists. A couple times during your set, mention your name. Right? If you're the opener, people walk in halfway through your set, they don't know who you are. They watch the headliner, they walk out, and they say, hey, that opening act was pretty cool. Who was that? I don't know. Mention that. All right, so there's plenty of interesting performing opportunities out there. I'm not going to talk about the standard one, bars, clubs, coffee houses. You all know those. But we have a client called Gray Eye Glances that's done really well performing at Borders bookstores. A bookstore is a great venue. They do a semi-acoustic set. CDs are usually sold there. there's a different crowd in there every time. It's family friendly. It's no smoking, and you know, the cash register is right there. So these guys do really well playing at bookstores. Another client of ours, a band called Off Kilter, has sold 35,000 CDs playing at Disney World. Now, they're not playing in some show. They're playing right on the street in Disney World, some side street, not even Main Street, USA. And they're moving a ton of product. There's over 200 major theme parks, amusement parks across the U.S. and Canada. And they need, think about it, they need all kinds of music. You know, from kids from newborns to 90-year-old fogies. Fogies? Any 90-year-old fogies here? 90 or not 90? So there's a website that lists all kinds of theme park jobs, including music opportunities, called, appropriately, themeparkjobs.com. So you may want to check them out. And there's another one called coolworks.com that also has theme park listings. So it's just something to try out. Colleges. Colleges are a great place to play if you can get the gigs. Their check is always good. It's important. They pay well. They're not really as profit motivated as a typical bar or club is. You know, the Student Activity Council in these various colleges, their main goal is to have their students entertained. The National Association for Campus Activities is the organization of all the booking agents for 1,200 colleges. Anybody here a NACA member? Okay. Have you gotten any gigs?
How's it going, everyone? My name is David Wilner. I'm a singer-songwriter from Chicago area. Sorry, Michael. Duck down. Hi, I'm David. I'm playing solo now, but from 96 to 02, I was in a band called Blind Man's Bluff, and we toured nationally on the NACA, National Association for Campus Activities circuit. And we were 5 guys. We did pop rock covers, anything, you know, and some originals. And the colleges were into our thing, and we showcased. That's really the key. You send in a demo. If you get lucky enough to get selected to showcase in front of different regions, and there's about 8 or 10 of them across the country, and we got selected to showcase for 6 regionals, and we killed at the showcases and got about 30 gigs per regional, and poof, national tour, $1,000 a show. Over the time, we did about 1,000 shows.
Great. Thanks,
And
Dave.
No problem.
So it's pretty incredible. Every time I do a seminar, I ask about NACA. Folks who are NACA members and who've worked through NACA, every single person I've met who's gone through NACA has gotten gigs at colleges. So there's regional conferences. There's a national conference that you can apply for and get showcases through. It's a great opportunity. NACA.org. It's about $300 and some to be a member, but 1 gig and you got your money back. House concerts. I know this is Chicago, the bosom of house music. That's not what I'm talking about. This is when a fan of your music invites their friends and acquaintances into their house and asks you to perform for them. Anybody here done one of those? Wow. All right, you guys are good. You can set the rules with the house concert. You know, is there a charge at the door? Usually there is. Do you need to split it? Do you get all of it? Is there smoking? Is there drinking? Is there eating? Or none of the above? It's great. Make sure, if you play a house concert, that you do 2 sets, that you have a break in between. If you do 1 long set, I mean, it's just you usually. If you do 1 long set, that could be good, but at the end, people might want to leave. With 2 sets, in between the set, you go out, you schmooze with your newfound fans, and you sell them your CDs. And then at the end of the 2nd set, then they can go home, after you're done selling them all your CDs. Subways. I don't know whether this is allowed here in Chicago. Is performing on the L and all that kind of stuff allowed? You need to get a permit. We have a client called Lorenzo LaRock. He's in New York, plays the subways. He said playing subways and having CDs for sale has been the difference between making hundreds a day and making thousands a day. You get less tips, you make a lot more money. And then there's charity events. Charity events are a great way to do good while doing well. Pick a charity that you believe in, offer your services when they have an event, play for free. You get in front of a huge crowd, potentially, of new folks who've never heard your music. Ask them to sign up for your mailing list and sell your CD. You want to be a good guy? Tell them that part of the proceeds of the CD will go to the charity. And then if they sign up for your mailing list, maybe you get some folks out to your next performance and you have a new fan. At my own peril, I'm going to ask anybody else interesting gigging opportunities that you've done, played?
My name is Jeet Sidhu. I'm with the band MWC. The opportunity that I would like to discuss is before I joined this band, I'm a drummer, and I've played at actually O'Hare Airport in their, I guess you would call it the terminal, their parking terminal before you actually get to the main terminals for your flights. That you also have to get a permit for, but that's yet another avenue. I don't know if any of you have done this. It's hard to get a 6-piece rock and roll band right out there by that people mover, but if you're by yourself, a lot of you singer-songwriters, and by the way, this is a great, great city.
All right, let's do one more.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Randy Payne, and what I wanted to say is that one of the biggest opportunities probably for everybody to be heard and maybe make some money off the band is probably every city has a cable access channel, and most of the people are dying for entertainment on cable, and almost every group that comes into town, I don't care if you're Van Halen, if you're Michael Jackson, if you're in your hotel room and you're flicking channels, you'll be surprised at what band that's on there that may interest you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. And appropriately enough, that's a good segue. I want to talk a little bit about radio. Radio is like the holy grail for the independent artist, right? Everybody thinks if I could only get enough radio airplay, I can just sell and sell and sell all day and all night long. But it's not a surprise, probably, that I'm going to tell you that in this age of consolidation with, corporate behemoths like Clear Channel, Infinity Broadcasting, each owning hundreds, if not thousands of radio stations, it's really exceedingly difficult to get radio airplay. It is possible, though. College stations are still very much open to playing independent music. College DJs get a kick still out of introducing new artists to their listeners. On some college stations, depending on how small or how non-commercial they still are, because some college stations are getting pretty darn commercial nowadays, you can get a live performance opportunity. I played in a couple of bands that played live on a couple of radio stations in Philly where I was going to school. And, I mean, what could be sweeter than that? It's 20, 30, 40 minutes of nothing but your music playing on the radio station. It's, at one of my seminars, it's a lot of hard work. And a lot of the things that we're talking about on the business side are very hard work. Trying to get college or commercial airplay. There are late night shows on commercial stations that are open to playing local music. You got to work the phone. You got to be prepared to pick up the phone and call folks and call them again. Send them your stuff. Ask them if they've listened to it, if they're prepared to listen to it. I had at one of my seminars a guy stand up. He said, you know what I do? It works great for me. I call the radio station, talk to the DJ I want to talk to, invite him out to lunch. He says, if you know radio DJs, they love stuff for free. That's what payola's all about, right? So he invites him out to lunch. Boy, and for 45 minutes, it cost him $40. For 45 minutes, He's got FaceTime with the DJ. Hands him the CD. He makes nice with them. And next thing you know, he's getting airplay. You can do that, but you got to do the hard work. Hard because it's difficult work. You know, we have to step way outside our comfort zone to make that cold call and make it over and over and over again, sometimes to the same person, because they won't answer your call. Radio play. Who's gotten it? All right. We've got some folks. Any good tips for radio play that I didn't mention? Right there.
Hi, my name's Steve Pasek. I'm a promoter, lyricist, producer. I do a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things we found really effective is call them and thank them. If they play you and you call them, even if you leave a voicemail, because a lot of stations will have even a voicemail for every personality that's on the air, and you just call them and say, hey, thanks a lot. We really appreciate the airplay. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. We'll come in, we'll do an in-studio, anything you want to do. And most of the time, they just appreciate the fact that you recognize that they're giving you a break. And we've got relationships now with a few people on commercial radio that have given us some breaks and played stuff. And it's actually just really good at developing the relationship, because when you got a new record coming out, you can call them and say, hey, we'll give you something before anybody else gets it to pay you back, that kind of thing.
It's all about relationships, right? The better relationships you can establish with DJs or with, you know, editors at music papers, etc. It'll only help you down the road.
How's your arm? Good. Two comments. Number one, what he said about thank you. That works for after you get on airplay. And in fact, what we did with one radio station that put us on and now is playing 3 of our singles, we actually ordered some of Cheryl's cookies and had them delivered, because they have the canisters that say thank you, and they've put our logo on it to everyone. But initially, to get on the first radio station, what we did, when you talk about being bold, it wasn't a secondary radio station, it was a primary radio station in our market. And we called them up and said, we think you should listen to our music. And they say, why do you think that? And we said, because we're that good. And they actually put us on the air saying that, and then they told their listeners, call in if you think they're good. And they played a little snippet of one of our songs, and they invited us in the next morning to come in and play live, which they've never done.
It's great.
All right, thank you. How you doing? My name is Oscar Warren. Something else I noticed too, you mentioned an excellent point, but also what we did was to show them, like raising money for them, for the school, college radio. It was really great with that. This is my artist here, Hershey Renee, and what we did was we went to the high school, and for the kids that was going to be attending at college, we went there, we did a light little fundraiser type thing. It was 1,100 people there. So we was able to sell CDs, merchandise, but then when you do a little something, let the college know that a lot of these students will be coming here, we're going to do something for y'all as well. Not only did they was willing to play the information, the records and stuff, but they even opened up where now we can come there and perform for free. You don't have to be charged. And for the venue, and that venue holds like 700 people. So if you do favors, just do some favors, and give a portion of your proceeds to them. And I'm telling you, it's a wonderful way to get in there, because now we're up to, like, the last count, we're nearing 3,300 people that actively follow her. And so that's what it's all about. It's making waves there.
It's a great suggestion. And really, there's a theme you may have noticed through all the comments and all the feedback, which is you don't want to approach the DJs with, what can you do for me, and just strictly have it be one-sided. You want to find out how you can add value. There's that word again. How you can do something to help them. What are their needs, and how can you help? One last thing. There is a common misconception that as soon as you have a track mixed, and you love that mix, you give it to a DJ you know who's friendly to you, and they'll play it, and you'll start the promotion for your album. So check this scenario. Let's say they play your song on the radio. Fans love it. They call for it. They keep playing it and playing it and playing it. What good is that to you? Your CDs still aren't ordered. In fact, you're not even done mixing. Why would you do that? If you have a DJ who's friendly to you, they'll play your song when your CD is out just as much as they'll play your song now before your CD is done. Make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, that should lightning strike and you start getting major radio play, your CDs are in all the local stores. They're available online at a place like CD Baby so that you can strike the iron while it's hot. Don't dribble out your songs beforehand. Make sure that your stuff is in stores before you start your radio promo. Website. I saw a little less than half of folks raise their hand when I asked about who has a website. Why don't the rest of you have one? A website is virtually free nowadays, folks. You can get some cheap web hosts, basic no frills for $5 a month or something like that. It can't be the money. You can get a fancier or more musician-friendly website like, Host Baby or something that's, you don't need to know any HTML programming. You can upload your songs and, you can do commerce off the site and it costs a little more, $20 a month or something like that. Your website, an effective website, is the single most important thing you can do for your music. It's always open. It's worldwide. It's a way for people to see who you are, hear what you sound like, find out where you're performing next, and buy your music. That's what your website should do. When you have a website, you got to register your own domain name, your own URL, www.yourname.com. That one's taken, but do your own. In fact, this is so important. I mean, how are people going to find out about you if it's not in your domain name? It's so important. If you're a new act starting out and that domain name is not available and you haven't really gotten the word out yet, you may want to consider changing your name. Now, your website is not going to help you if nobody visits it. You got to get traffic to your site. There are a number of ways to do that. One I already mentioned. Put your URL on every piece of swag that you have. Put it on the back of your CDs, put it on your T-shirts, put it on your banners, put it everywhere. You can link with other artists. If you're playing within a narrow genre, there's usually kind of a sort of fraternity among the artists that play that limited genre of music. Link to them and get linked from them so that their fans can find out about you, your fans can find out about them. It doesn't matter if your fans find out about other artists. They're still your fan as well. You don't lose anything by pointing people to another artist's website. And then, since you're probably not going to have the funds to actually market your website, you're going to have to become an expert at search engine optimization. Search engine optimization. When somebody types in your name in Google, you should actually show up at the top of that listing. Search engine optimization does that without you having to pay for it. And there are a lot of things, and I'm not going to have time to get really into it, but the way you use, what keywords, what are they going to type in to find you? Your name or your genre. I can tell you, if you type in hillbilly flamenco, Dave Fetter shows up. So the text, do the words occur in the text of your website? Do you link to other sites? The more sites you link to and had linked to you, the higher your relevance is with Google. There are a lot of tricks with search engine optimization. The best way to start is go to Google. About 70%, I think, of searches go through Google at this point in time. Go to Google, and you click on, there's an About Google link right on the front page, and then you go to a section called For Site Owners. And there's a whole bunch of articles there that explain how you can make your site more Google friendly. And start there. And then on your site, what should you have on your site? Your bio, your photos. You want people to be able to listen to your music, so you should be able to stream your music. Your performance schedule certainly should be there. I mean, this is your main marketing tool to the world. You want a link to allow people to buy your music, whether it's off your own site or, you know, linking to a page on CD Baby or something. But it doesn't have to be all music or all business. I mean, you can link to social causes if you have certain social causes that you believe in strongly. You can do anything. You know, if it's interesting, if it looks good, you can do it with your website. There's one other thing I want to talk about. Raise your hand again if you have a website. All right, now hold your hand up. Now hold your hand up only if your only web presence is on MySpace. Everybody who's not on MySpace, or who's on MySpace and has their own site, take your hand down. On MySpace. If your only web presence is on MySpace, hold your hand up. Okay. Anybody not know what MySpace is? Yes? No? MySpace is the major social networking website. I think somewhere over 100 million members at this point in time. Over 1 million artists have web pages on MySpace. It's a great way, in addition to your site, to have a presence. There's like a culture of building up your friends list on MySpace. Those friends are all potential customers. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about selling CDs, topic near and dear to my heart.
Got a question back
Yeah.
here. Can you stand up, please?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out your opinion on putting samples, 30-second samples, 2-minute samples, whole songs, high res, low res. What do you recommend on a website?
Thank you.
It really depends on what you want. I mean, there are plenty of artists who just have full MP3s available for download for free because they figure, I'm not known right now. If people download my files and then distribute them somewhere else, it's just more visibility for me at this point in time. You should have, my recommendation, you should be able to stream full songs as an independent artist. The 30-second clip is okay, but you want folks to really get a good idea of who you are. And so streaming the full song is what I would recommend. You know, I'm going to hold it because I'm going to run out of time otherwise. So later on, we're going to do that. I want to talk a little bit about selling CDs. I talked about gig sales already. Gig sales are the best way to make money off your music, and not just your CDs. Make sure you have other stuff available for sale as well. You know, once people have their wallet out, it's actually pretty easy to get them to buy something else. A T-shirt, a hat. Make a bundle. You know, if you sell CDs for 12 and you sell your shirts for 15, sell them a bundle of a CD and a shirt for 25 bucks. You don't have to share the profits with anybody. Gig sales are the single best way to do that. Anybody here take credit cards at your gigs? It's pretty good. CD Baby has a swiper that you can get with coupons, and you know, somebody spent their last $5 at the bar, but they want to buy your stuff. You got to make it easy for people to buy your stuff. So a credit card swiper, which is basically free from CD Baby, you send them the coupons at the end, and they take 9% for admin and bank fees. And so if you sell $100 worth of CD on credit cards, you get $91 back. Sounds like a win-win to me. One of the things that we love doing with disc makers, to take the fear out of buying, is to offer a money-back guarantee. You can try to offer a money-back guarantee. Send out an email that says, hey, buy my CD. If within the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whenever, you don't like what you hear, send it back, I'll give you a full refund. Now everybody's thinking, whoa, they're just going to rip my CD to iTunes, everybody's going to ask for their money back. There are going to be a couple of jerks that are going to do that, but people like to support the artist they like. They may not like to support the artist's record label, but they like to buy stuff from the artist and support the artist they like. Inertia or procrastination is a very strong force. Once people have your CD, to actually pack it back up and mail it back in, even if they don't like it, not a lot of folks are going to do it. You're going to find out really quickly that you're going to sell a lot more CDs, and you're going to find out really quickly how good your music really is. But try it. It's actually a pretty low-risk strategy to do that. The best way to sell is to go direct to stores. Local record stores are always prepared to take, or virtually always prepared to take independent product. And get to know the store owner. Be prepared to sell on consignment. A word about distribution. People think, and I thought when I was playing, man, if I could just get distribution, my stuff will sell. Nothing could be further from the truth. A distributor is not in the business of promoting your music. A distributor is a channel to fulfill the demand that you create. So you have to perform, you have to get airplay, you have to do your web marketing, you have to do your database marketing, you got to sell your product. You got to get people wanting your product. Then a distributor can help you. Now, distributors are notoriously, how shall I say it, crooked. Late to pay, yes. They always seem to lose the pen that they sign the checks with. So how do you get around that? Well, you want to ask artists who you know about any distributors that they have good experience with. One trick is, so you don't get burned, only send the distributor as much product as you can afford to lose. That sounds like a skeptic. Been there, done that. If they ask you for 500, send them 200. Trust me, when those 200 sell out, they'll find your phone number. If you sent them the 500 and you sold 200 and you called to collect, they'll lose your phone number. They're not calling you back. But if they need more, that's the only little bit of leverage that you might be able to get over a distributor, is they want more of your product because it's sold out and it's selling. And you could say, okay, but I'd like to get paid for the other 200. That's what the big labels do. Big labels hold back with some distributors their new releases to get payments out of the distributors. So you're not alone as an independent artist in this predicament, but you have a lot less leverage than the majors. So hence, only send as much as you can afford to lose. One more thing. We're talking business. I'm going to talk about branding, and I'll try to keep it quickly. Lasco is giving me the evil eye back there. Put on your business hat, and what it comes down to is you're building your brand. You are the brand. All these things that you're doing are about the brand you. And you got to start with a good name. You got to, build a better name to build a better brand. So, the name should be familiar, easy to remember, like Taxi, or wacky and attention-getting, like CD Baby. Certainly original. It could be a descriptor like Discmakers. All other factors being equal, the brand with the better name will come out ahead. So in closing, I got to say this. The odds, unfortunately, are against the majority of you from hitting the #1 spot on the Billboard charts. Having said that, there's never been a better time to be an independent artist than there is today. You are able to benefit from the decline of the major labels and the whole major label infrastructure. There are top-name recording studios, top-name producers out there right now actively courting independent artists. And they would have turned up their noses to independents 10 years ago, but the major label income stream has dried up and their rates have gone way down. There are resources like Taxi that give access to opportunities that were never available, or companies like CD Baby that give you broad distribution and broad reach on the internet, or Discmakers that makes it easier than ever to get CDs made, major label quality product, or MySpace that gets you in front of millions of folks. So there's never been a better time than now to be an independent artist. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. If you're prepared to do the hard work, you can make significant improvements and significant gains in the revenues that you're able to generate from your music. That's it for me.
First thing on my bullet point list, what not to say when an A&R person calls you. And if you've ever been to one of my seminars before, don't give up the answer just yet. But does anybody know a word that starts with the letter V that you should never say, I am this? Anybody know what that word is? Starts with the letter V. I am versatile. Thank you. Why do you not say you are versatile? Because record companies like stuff that fits neatly into formats. You know why? Because radio stations are formatted. You've got pop stations, you've got rock stations, you've got country stations. So if you say, my record's got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of something else on it, they can't take that into an A&R meeting, because if they do, the guys from Radio Promo that are sitting there are going to say, well, what station do I take that to? So you've got to be one thing. It's really kind of tying in A&R and marketing. You know, if you try to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing at all. So remember that. You really want to be just one thing. How do you decide what that one thing is? I would say pick the genre of music that you get the most compliments about. If you do have a CD that's got a bunch of country songs on it and some rock songs and some pop songs, people frequently comment about how great your country stuff is. That's the market that I would go after. Another thing not to say, when you finally, after years of waiting, somebody from a record label hears about you through Taxi or MySpace or whatever, they call you up and they say, well, tell me more about the band. And you start in with, well, my brother used to be in the band, but then he got busted for breaking and entering, so he's doing a little time in the joint. I kid you not. I've literally had this particular call before. And then the guy went into, but then his girlfriend, who was a heroin addict that lived at our house, started playing drums in the band, and she was pretty good. But then she got pregnant by this biker guy who she met at the bar, and I'm sitting there thinking, what a bonehead. Nobody wants to know. Those are all negative things. Really, what the record company wants to know is, tell me more about your influences. Tell me something that shows me that you guys know how to market yourself. So if you say the record company guy, look, we do 4 shows a week. We get 300 people per show. Sometimes when we play in our own backyard, we get 500 or 600 people out to the gigs. And we sold 3,500 CDs last year on our own, and we can prove that with documentation. You have that person's attention. That's what they really want to know about you. What makes an artist or a band instantly signable? What is going to cause them to call you up and say, we are interested in signing you? It's obvious that you've been successful on your own. I don't have a whiteboard here, so pretend this is a whiteboard. Here's Chicago. Here's a 100-mile radius around the city of Chicago. Identify every club in that 100-mile radius where they like musicians that do original music. Beg, plead, have sex with them, whatever you have to do in order for your band to get booked at those clubs. And when you start packing the house and you've built up a nice following, then draw a 200-mile circle and expand what you do out to that radius. Repeat the same thing. Go 300 miles, 400 miles, and before you know it, you will have sold thousands of CDs. And that's what labels are looking for. Musicians have a tendency to want other people to do stuff for them. If I sign with this record label, my work is done. All I have to do is be really good as an artist, and then I sign the deal, I make the record, everybody fawns all over me, and they do their little magic stuff, and the next thing you know, I'm a giant hit. People are laughing. You know better, don't you? They want somebody who can prove to them that you have focus, that you have marketing prowess, and that you are able to sell the product on your own. That's when they want to sign you. People always come up to me and say, Michael, how good do my demos have to be? I'm never quite sure if they're talking about the quality of the recording or the quality of the production, they're hardly ever talking about the quality of the songwriting. But songwriting is so important. Imagine, if you will, for a minute, that you are an A&R person. You've just come back from 2 weeks in the Bahamas on vacation, you're suntanned, you're well rested, you're happy to be back at work. Your assistant brings in a pile of stuff and plops it on your desk, and you start to listen to the stuff. The first thing that you see is this beautiful CD with a great 4-color cover on it, great booklet inside. They pressed it at disc makers, and I do this whether Tony's in the room or not. Everything about it is really first class. And then they listen to it, and they go, wow, this is pretty decent. You know, I hear a lot of pretty darn good songs. The production is excellent. The engineering is excellent. Not bad. They put it back in the case and move it over to the left side of the desk. The next thing they pull out is one of those old white shell plastic cassettes. Remember those cassettes? And all it's got on it is, you know, the Tony Van Veen Band and a song title and a phone number. And the A&R person puts it in, starts to listen, and immediately the intro starts to grab him. He goes, wow, that's a really cool guitar lick. I like that intro. You've got his attention. He stays with it, listens to the first verse, and he's thinking, man, that's an awesome first verse. Then what does he do? He gets down on his knees and he starts praying, dear Lord, let there be a hit chorus in there. And sure enough, the song delivers on the promise, and there is a kick-ass chorus. The A&R guy can barely contain himself. He keeps listening, and there's a bridge. And the bridge is awesome, and the bridge really builds, and it builds tension and excitement, takes him into the last chorus of the song, and when it's all done, the A&R guy is broken into a cold sweat. He's freaking out. What does he do? Runs next door to the other A&R guy, plays it for him. Do you like it too? Because he wants to know that he's not nuts. And then he calls you up and says, this is amazing. He didn't call because the production was great or the engineering was great. He called because the song was great. It could have been just a guitar vocal demo. There's a lot of controversy. A lot of people wonder, will a guitar vocal demo or a keyboard vocal demo work, or do I need a full-blown production? Well, if you're pitching yourself as a band, full-blown production. If you're pitching songs, if you want to pitch a song to Faith Hill or Tim McGraw or Celine Dion, whoever, they are far, far, far more concerned about the songwriting. Yet so many artists that I know seem to concentrate on the engineering and production. Doesn't really matter. Like I said, it matters more if you are pitching yourself as a band, not nearly as much if you're pitching yourself as an artist. I mean, as a songwriter. How to write the perfect bio. How many of you guys have been frustrated trying to write your own bio? Do you feel embarrassed and guilty about trying to write about yourself, and you feel like it's a bunch of puffery and nobody's going to believe it? And then you have this, there's another huge misconception out there in the independent artist world, which is, if I put together a really great looking package, then they're going to pay attention to me. Well, unfortunately, they don't know how great looking the package is because it's in a manila envelope when it comes to their office. So they don't really know what's on the inside. I did have a guy send me one time a plaster of Paris foot attached to the outside of the package. And it said on the outside of the package, now that I've got my foot in the door, will you listen to my CD? That was the one time. I've been in the music business for 32 years, and that was the only time I ever opened one up because the packaging was great on the outside. But they don't really care about how great your bio is. They don't care about how great your picture looks. It's amazing, by the way, how many women send in pictures looking like they're from the Victoria's Secret catalog. Like, the A&R guy is going to sign me because my boobs are showing. I'm sorry, he's going to look at that picture. He may have a perverted thought or two, but he is not going to sign you because you're showing off your breasts. Doesn't happen. They're going to sign you because you write timeless songs that are going to sell millions of records. Getting back to the bio for a minute. One of the things that we see a lot of is people send us about 15 pages of bio. The first page is a big white blank sheet of paper with a matchbook size thing printed Xerox from the newspaper. It says, XYZ band played at Rusty's Rib Ranch on Friday night. Turn the page. The next page is XYZ band played at Rusty's Rib Ranch again the next Friday night. So on and so forth. You're laughing, but we get these every single day at Taxi. Every day. Blows my mind. Really, all they want to know in a bio is the same thing that a record company wants to know when they see you on the internet, when they see you perform. They want to know, who are your influences? What kind of music are you making? Number one. They want to know how much of a draw you've got at the shows and how many CDs you've sold. You could put that into a nice little succinct paragraph. The Michael Lasko Band has been together for 12 years and was largely influenced by Fleetwood Mac, although the band is all male. Now they know what you sound like. We've played gigs in the Chicagoland area for the last X number of years, and we typically sell out 300 tickets per show. We play 4 shows a week, and we've been fortunate enough that we've sold 3,500 of our CDs in the last year. I guarantee you that bio, combined with great songwriting, is going to make an A&R person call you up. Mind-blowing, isn't it? Just a simple little thing. They really don't care about Rusty's Rib Ranch. So how do you write better songs? It's the hardest thing in the world, isn't it? It's how do you write better songs? You know how you write better songs? By listening to other people's hits. And I'm not saying copy what they do, but if you'll notice, about 80% of all the hits that have ever been out in the marketplace, they follow a traditional song form, which is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and out. And I know you're going to say, well, I'm a creative artiste, Michael. I don't need to do anything formulaic. Well, then you're probably not going to get a record deal, and you're probably not going to sell a lot of records, because we are like Pavlov's dogs as listeners. We get into our car, we turn on the radio. How many people in the room would agree that you can tell when the chorus is coming in most of the songs you listen to, right? First time you hear a song, you can feel the chorus coming. You know why? Because the song was written in traditional song form. There, of course, are other song forms, but the traditional verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and out form is by far the most popular and the most successful songs. There's a guy named Ralph Murphy. He's the vice president of ASCAP in Nashville, and he's worked very closely with Belmont College in Nashville. And they've done actual statistical studies, and they have found that like 80% of the songs that have been hits have followed that form. So I say, throw caution to the wind, forget being an artiste, sit down and listen to other people's songs, and take a legal pad. Come home from work at night, have dinner with your family, and don't turn on must-see TV. Not that that even exists anymore, but go in your room, shut the door, say goodbye to your wife and kids, kiss the kiddies goodnight, and put a legal pad on your knee with a pen in your hand and a copy of Billboard sitting next to you, and turn on whatever the big hit radio station is where you live. And every time you hear a song, look at Billboard and say, oh, that's so-and-so, and their chart number, 32. Look to see who the songwriter is, look to see who the label is, look to see who the producer is. And over time, you will get to know the language of the music industry by doing that. In order to be in the industry, you've got to know what the people who are successful in the industry know. If you're not doing that, it's kind of like me showing up at the Super Bowl this year as a walk-on. 15 minutes before the game, I walk up to the coach and go, hey, I'm Michael Lasko. I used to play sandlot football when I was a kid growing up in Ottawa, Illinois, and I want to play in the Super Bowl today. And the coach is going to look at me and call security, right? In order to compete in the music industry, you need to compete with the people who are on the charts. Look around this room. These people are your friends. They're your support system. They are not your competition. You guys in the front row are not competing with each other. You're competing with the people on the charts. If you don't know what they know and do what they do better than they're doing it, then you can't kick their ass. And the only way you can have a hit record is to knock them out of the number one position and put yourself in there. So to dramatically improve your songwriting, sit down and listen to the song. Go, well, looky there, Lasko was right. This song's got an 8-bar intro. You know what the average intro time is for songs that come into Taxi? 37 seconds. What happens when you get in your car in the morning and you turn on your radio and there's a new song on there and it's got a 37-second long intro? You change the station, don't you? You think it's an instrumental song. What the hell station am I tuned into here? Well, the same thing happens when we get those 37-second intros at Taxi. I see the screeners, our A&R people sitting there scratching their heads going, is this an instrumental song? No. The song has lyrics, but they don't know it yet. So sit down with your pad, sit down with your pen, and listen to those hit songs and say, okay, intro on this hit song is 8 bars. It lasts for 12 seconds. And then you look at the first verse and go, okay, the first verse is a 4-line verse, and the rhyme scheme is falling on the 1s and the 3s, not the 2s and the 4s. But then, oddly enough, when it gets to the chorus, all of a sudden the rhyme scheme goes to the 2s and the 4s. And if you'll notice that the last chord of the verse is something that's kind of down the scale, so it gives the writer room to go up the scale to feel that lift and go into the chorus, which is ta-da. Same thing when you get to the bridge. You know, go to a bridge that maybe has minor 7ths in it. Maybe it's got some 9th chords in it. Something that kind of takes you down, and the lyric becomes interesting because the bridge is in the song to keep your interest. If the song were just verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, you'd get bored. You need that bridge to give you a little break, but it also introduces a new aspect of the song. Make it interesting. Make the vocal or the lyric really count there. And when you come out of that bridge, make it so powerful that that last chorus just smacks the listener in the face. And when they're done, their reaction should be what? I want to hear it again. We've all had that moment, you know, for those of us who are old enough to remember new Beatles records when they came out. You'd get to the end of that song, you could not wait to go back to the top of it again. But so many people think that other external things are going to make them a star, and they forget about songwriting. How many of you guys, again, have your stuff on MySpace? Wow. That's like, I don't know, we've got probably 300, 350 people in this room. Once again on the hands, sorry. So I'm guessing 150 people maybe have your stuff on MySpace. How many of you guys have made $10,000 by selling your stuff on MySpace? Or using MySpace is a link to CD Baby where people can buy your stuff? You've 10,000 bucks? Oh, you have a question? Okay. All right, because I was going to come over and ask if I could like hang out with you later. But okay, so, all right. How many people have made $5,000? How many people have made 1,000? All right, 1, 2, 3 hands. All right, how many people have your product at CD Baby? How many people have made 10 grand there? How many people have made 5 grand? 1,000. Wow. 2 people in the room that have made, or 3 people have made $1,000. CD Baby, it's the world's biggest little record store. Everybody knows it's there. Why? You know, why aren't you selling more stuff? It starts with the songwriting. I love marketing. I've read over 500 marketing books. Van Veen is my marketing guru. Every time we hang out together, all we talk about is marketing. And as much as I love marketing, as passionate as I am about it, I don't believe that marketing can sell a bad song. It can't even sell a mediocre song. I doubt that it can even sell a song that's pretty darn good. Because we're used to hearing stuff that's been filtered. Record companies have searched far and wide to find the talent that they thought was best because they're making $1 million plus gamble on every new artist they sign. So you know that their filter, they call Taxi, they run a listing, we filter the stuff. We listen to 300 songs, we send them 10, or artists. Out of those, they probably don't sign anything. We repeat the process numerous times a year, and maybe after 3 years of working with a particular label, the A&R guy finally signed something from Taxi. That's pretty heavily filtered, right? And that's what finally gets to the radio, maybe, if it makes it through the filter of the program directors at the radio stations who get like 200 submissions a week, and they have to decide 2 of those things that are going to bounce off 2 of the other things that are on their top 20 list right now. They've got to pick 2 next week. So when you think about all that filtering, you know that the stuff that makes it to radio, whether you like Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears or not, Somebody out there does. A lot of somebodies do. And what makes those songs hits are that the songs are well written and somebody out there in the marketplace really, truly loves them. I know. You know, I listen to the radio. I ask this question all the time at the Taxi Road Rally. Whenever I've got the A&R guys up there, one of my favorite questions is, if you guys are so damn picky, why is there so much crap on the radio, right? So that's what I call a cheap laugh, because I know that one gets the laugh every time. The reason that stuff is on the radio is because somebody out there likes it. Radio stations play this stuff, and they do what's called call-outs. They want to know, what do people in our listener base, do they like that new Britney Spears song? And then they check for the number of call-ins, and they actually compile data, and they determine what is going to live or die in their playlist by what you like. So if you hear Britney Spears over and over again on your radio station, even though it makes you want to puke, somebody out there, a lot of somebodies, likes that stuff. How to make big bucks getting your songs in films and TV. Look, I'm looking around the room. How many people in this room are over 21? A lot of you. How many people are over 30? How many people are over 40? How many people are so old you don't want to tell me? All right, a couple of guys with white hair cop into that one. All right, if you raise your hand for any of those things, the probability of you getting signed to a major label record deal is really, really low. At 21, maybe. We always joke around the office that labels are looking to sign people in utero, because youth is so important these days in the marketplace, because they think that the only people who listen to music are between 13 and 24 years old, right? But you know what? I know people that make $150,000 a year getting their music placed in TVs and TV shows and movies. How many people in the room, I don't know if you want to cop this, okay, how many people in the room would like to make $150,000 a year doing what you love to do? I want hands on this. Boy, you guys are really short and fast with those hands. Let's get them up there. Come on. All right. I got to tell you, from my own personal experience, there is no greater feeling in the world, other than maybe loving your wife and kids, than getting up every day and going to do something that you love to do and earning your living doing it. Well, film and television music is a great way to do that, and here's why. They don't care how old you are, if you're fat, skinny, short, tall, gray hair, black hair. They don't care. All they care about is, does this piece of music work for the scene that I want to put it in? Simple little formula. And you're thinking, well, strings, violins, horns, big room, big orchestra. I'm not talking about scored music. Have you ever noticed that all the shows on the WB now have like rock songs in them, and pop songs and country songs? Not just the WB, pretty much all the networks now. They have a scene in a show. There's a 16-year-old girl on the OC. Her boyfriend just dumped her. She just swallowed a bottle full of Vicodin. She's driven to the top of some mountain in Orange County. I'm sure they have them. And she's thinking about driving her car off of the cliff to impress her boyfriend with how much she really loved him. And as they're showing this girl in her brand new Porsche convertible that Daddy bought her, the camera zooms back and you hear music. It's ostensibly coming out of the dashboard of her car. It's a song about what? No. That's pretty good. Broken hearts. It's a song about lost love. Think about it. There just aren't that many different occasions, as I like to call them, in TV shows and movies that you have to write for. Lost love, found love, happiness, sadness, celebration, victory. Let's hear some others, because I'm out. Death, there you go. You copied. Yeah, it could be death. You know, it could be a bunch of people standing around at a funeral, really depressed. The point is, I'll bet you that 70 or 80% of the people in this room have already written a song that would work in a TV show or a movie. And you know what? I'll bet you the song isn't even in verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and out form, and it doesn't matter. You know why? Because they're going to use 14 seconds of it. In your egotistical musician minds, you're thinking my song is going to be front and center. The girl in the Porsche convertible doesn't matter. It's all about my song. They're going to play the whole thing. My neighbors are coming over. They're going to have pizza and popcorn. They're going to sit on the couch. They're going to listen to this, and I'm going to be so proud. And then your song comes on. It's buried so far down in the mix you can barely hear it, and it lasts for 14 seconds. But guess what? It was on a broadcast network, not cable, because there is a difference. I'll tell you about that in a minute. On a broadcast network, and lo and behold, you get a check from BMI 6 months later for $1,700. Cool. Now, 6 months later, when the show airs again, you get another check. That's like found money, isn't it? For a song that you had sitting on a shelf that didn't even have a bridge in it. The song wasn't that good, but it was a song about death. There you go. So the thing is that most people don't know how to get their stuff in film and television. And this is a bit of a taxi plug, but I'm not doing it to sell any memberships. I'm doing it because I believe there is no better way to get yourself into lots of situations where you can get your stuff in film and video. Okay, there are things called production music libraries. They're not very exciting on the surface. They're basically publishers. They're generally speaking not big publishers like Warner Chappell or EMI or BMG, but they specialize in building up really large catalogs of all kinds of music for different occasions. I know that some of you are talented enough with your 4 tracks or your 8 tracks that you could get stuff in TV shows. You're thinking, well, no, come on, I got to go to that SSL studio with a 24-track digital recorder and use all top-of-the-line session players. Absolutely not. Remember, accordion, mandolin, 2 tracks. You could record it on a boombox if you were close enough to the microphone to get enough signal to noise ratio going on. You could literally record it on a boombox. I think it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yes, ma'am. Let me come back to you with the microphone. Yes.
Hello, it's nice to meet you. I am one of the taxi passengers, I believe, on here, dear passenger. I do get the dispatch, and the 2 questions I have for you is, number 1, it seems like their turnaround time is very quick, and number 2, should they take one of your songs, then do they hold it so that you can't produce it or put it anywhere else? I mean, if a song goes into one of the films or TVs, it's theirs and your hands are off of it?
No, you still own it in most cases. Sometimes for film stuff, they will want publishing on it. But for the most part, I would say 80 or 90% of the time, you get to hang on to the publishing on the song, with the exception of some movies. The bigger the movie, the more likely they're going to ask you for publishing on it. You also we have a thing called Taxi Dispatch. How many of you guys are either are currently a taxi member or have been a taxi member? Wow, a lot of you guys. Okay. How many of you know about Taxi Dispatch? That's our quick turnaround film and TV thing. Again, not a plug, but you should know about this. What I described before were production music libraries that actually store this stuff in libraries, then disseminate it out to a bunch of different post-production houses and production companies. We get calls from music supervisors who are the people who determine which music is going in a movie or a TV show. They call us up desperate. We're on the mix stage on the Warner Brothers lot. We're paying $20,000 a day for it. We're 2/3 of the way through our movie. We got to the Rolling Stones song, and just as we were about to mix that section of the movie, the producer got a call that the Rolling Stones changed their mind. They don't want their song in the movie, or now the director doesn't like it. They call us up, and they are so incredibly desperate, and they say, can you find us something that sounds like maybe early Rolling Stones, a little greasy, a little smoky, a little bar bandy, and preferably it's got something in there about death. And we say, no problem. We fire out an email to all of our taxi members who have upgraded to Dispatch, which is like an add-on service that we do. You guys get the information overnight. You submit your stuff online to us. We throw a whole bunch of A&R people into the listening pool on that one the very next day, and by noon, we have found 4 songs that are all like Rolling Stones and about death. And we send it over. We'll messenger it over to the mix stage. We get the happiest phone calls you can possibly imagine from the producers working on these shows. One of the things you'll find when you work in film and TV music is that they don't listen to your song and go, I really like that. Now, I'm going to give you a call, and we're going to talk about the song. We're going to do a lyric change, And then you're going to go back in the studio and re-record it. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the vocal. Don't really like her vocal. Let's see if we can get somebody else with a raspier voice. That doesn't happen. It's got to be ready to go when they hear it. Does that mean that you need to do it in a 24-track digital studio in an SSL or a Neve console? No, not at all. Does it mean that it could be a reasonably well-recorded and produced 8-track? Absolutely, and I've got to believe that most of the people in this room could do that. So there you go. There's my big spiel about making big bucks. I know lots of people who are making 100, 150, a couple guys making $250,000 a year. I actually had one taxi member years ago that confided in me that he was making $900,000 a year. And you know what he was doing? I kid you not, literally, my hand to God, my children standing here with me. We'll be right back with the weather. And then there was the guy that does da-na-na-na. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Guy was making $1 million a year for da-da-da-da, 4 notes, $250,000 a note. I'm speechless. Yes.
Hi, my name is Josh, and I have a question. I know you were talking about press kits and that it's really more about the songwriting than anything else, but it was never addressed what an actual perfect press kit should involve. I don't really know.
That specific paragraph I told you about before, and a picture that's the size of a cigarette pack. They want to, when they hear the music, they want to look at your picture and go, does he look like the music sounds? And if he does, that's all they really need to know. They don't want a bunch of puffery.
Hi, this question is for you and probably applies to some of the people here. We were talking earlier with marketing as far as the more popular top 40 type bands, whereas us, we're a progressive metal band, whereas you do not get radio play, more of a century media type thing. What advice or direction can you give with that type of genre?
There are probably 1,000 forums out there on the internet for progressive metal, did you say? For progressive metal. You need to hang out on those forums, make friends with people, get their email addresses, start your own blog for other metalheads. And then once you've got the blog going and you've attracted several thousand visitors to the blog because you're reporting about the best progressive metal bands out there, start including some little snippets about your band. Find your audience.
Play out, perform, build your mailing list. Again, success breeds success. If you want to go anywhere, you want to get signed to a label or get signed to a publishing deal, if you actually have, as Michael mentioned, some tangible successes that you can point to, how many people are coming to your shows, how many CDs are you selling, that's really what's going to help you. And certain genres, it may be a little harder to get radio play than others. But don't think that the pop guys have it easier than you, because you just heard how many unsigned bands are getting played on 107.5. So, regardless of the genre, it's equally hard to really get the word out.
Hi, yeah, I just had a quick question that kind of goes back to what you were talking about prior, where you're saying that getting airplay, a lot of it has to do with industry kind of nonsense that involves payola, things like that. Are there submission services that are worth using? Because I'm researching right now, doing a release for early next year, and I'm going through Radio Locator, and I'm going through the Broadjam submit thing and trying to see how many AAA stations there are and going to their website and saying, is this really a station where they have an open playlist, or is this just nonsense? I'm going to send it to them and they're not going to even listen to it.
I've never personally met anybody, Tony, correct me if you've seen anybody, I've never seen a station other than maybe some college stations that have an open playlist. Look, if some of you people in this room are making amazing music, some of you are making music that's not so amazing. If it were an open playlist format and you went to a website that says, pay us money, we will submit your stuff to all these stations that have open playlists, I've got to think that they're going to get a lot of not very good music mixed in with a few gems. They're not going to be able to keep their listenership if they're playing that kid from mp3.com farting the Canadian national anthem. So I doubt that it works, and I've never heard any hard evidence that it works. What I can't tell you for sure is that, yes, every one of those companies is a bad company. I don't know that for a fact.
So it's not necessarily bad, but you're just saying don't count on it.
I think it's got to be unlikely. Tony, what do you think?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, why do people listen to radio stations? They listen to radio stations to hear music that's familiar.
Yeah.
How does music become familiar? And how do you get to like music? By hearing it over and over and over. So that's why a lot of radio stations significantly limit the number of songs that they play. And there are some services, you know, CMJ puts out these compilations that labels buy tracks on. College Music Journal, for those who've never heard of CMJ. And they send those to college radio stations, and they sell slots to independent artists so that among the major label tracks of kind of the edgier or newer major label bands that they're trying to promote, you can get your track, and you'll have a pretty good shot that a DJ will listen to it. There's still no guarantee that they'll play it, obviously, particularly if your music doesn't measure up. But I do know of folks who have gotten some radio play that way. You know, people ask, you know, how do I find a manager? How do I find a booking agent? When is the right time to get a manager? And I always tell folks, this is your music. Nobody is going to be a stronger advocate for your music than you're going to be yourself. Nobody is going to get as excited about it or has as much at stake than you have, as you have. So do as much as you can yourself for as long as you can. Make those hard phone calls. Call the radio stations, call the clubs, make all those calls yourself. And keep calling and keep calling if they don't get back to you. Don't become a stalker. No, don't be one of these nutsos who will leave 13 voicemail messages 13 days in a row for the program director. That doesn't mean you shouldn't call 13 times. Here's a tip. Call, leave a message the first time, call the next day, leave a message. The next 11 times that you call, don't leave a message. But try different times of the day. Try early morning. Sometimes some folks are early birds. Try lunchtime. Try early evening. Try late afternoon. And just keep calling. If they have direct dial, you may get lucky. They may pick up the phone accidentally, and you get through, and you better have your pitch ready at that point in time. So the one thing I would say, don't try to do your legal work yourself. Get a lawyer, and get a lawyer early. As soon as somebody wants you to sign something, it may cost you in the short run, but it can save you in the long run to have an attorney look at it. I was at a Taxi Road Rally. Well, we should just call this the Taxi Road Rally advertisement.
Thank you.
I was at a Taxi Road Rally, and one of these industry pundits at the front of the table on the panel says, you know, the days of the record labels stealing from artists by under-reporting sales or over-reporting expenses are pretty much over. Nowadays, the record labels are spelling out exactly how they're going to steal from you in the contract. And that's why you need a kick-ass music attorney or entertainment attorney, because a regular general counsel will not know the ins and outs of the music business.
If I may add to that, people often ask me, you know, should I sign with a manager? My band and I were playing at a club. There's a guy who comes every Friday night to see us. He drives a $75,000 Mercedes, and he owns the largest real estate company in town. He's a music fanatic. He loves us, and he wants to manage us. Well, he takes the band out for a nice dinner. They thrive on the attention. They're impressed by the fact that the guy's got a 6,200-foot house and the $75,000 Mercedes. And if he was that successful in real estate, I'm sure he can help us. And they sign a contract with the guy, and then they all quickly figure out the guy doesn't know anybody in the music industry. He doesn't understand the standards or the mores of the music industry. And even though he was really well-meaning and had the cash to help them, in the end, it hurt them. And now, if the guy's a jerk and they want out of the contract and he had a good lawyer, he's going to have a better lawyer than the band probably did because he's got money. They can't get out of that deal. Now, no real manager who lives in LA, New York, or Nashville, who's in the fray, who works with big artists, who record companies work with on a regular basis, they're accustomed to this guy, they're used to doing deals with this guy or girl. Now that's the guy you really want, but you're still stuck in the contract with this other guy. And even though some states have laws that say, it's kind of like slavery to force somebody to stay in a personal services contract. So Tony's absolutely right in saying do as much as you can for yourself as long as you can, because nobody will do it better for you.
Do you have any kind of nuggets of advice for getting their attention, getting them on your board? And I'm talking about not just like, I like the advice about non-standard venues, but for standard venues like bars and clubs, what advice do you have for getting out to them?
It's been about 20 years since I've made those calls myself, so I may have to go to the audience for that. One thing that does seem to be working, which was mentioned earlier, is Sonic Bids. They have, you have your electronic press kit, and they have a couple thousand booking agents and different industry folks, and you can drop your press kits into their drop boxes. You want to have a professional-looking CD. I think a press kit and a professional-looking CD is more important if you're trying to get a gig than if you're, trying to go to some production library or even submitting something, for a taxi listing, because they want to know that you're a pro. Your press kit should contain the paragraph that Michael said, nothing begets success like success. So you want to tell this club or bar how many people you're likely going to draw, if you are a draw. That's what they're interested in. So, don't be shy. It's your bio is like going on a job interview, right? I interview a lot of people at Discmakers, and, I ask them, to talk about their strengths, and they're like, oh, I don't know, it's like bragging. I'm like, this is your time to brag. It's the same thing with your bio. This is the time to brag. So if anybody has any tips you have tips for?
Yeah, I did that for a while, and you get so much
you did what for a while?
Booking for a venue. You get so much stuff in. Don't send more than 3 tracks, because they're not going to get past the first 3. In fact, the first one better be really killer, because if it sucks, the other 2 won't ever get heard. The other thing is, 1 sheet, bio page, have something that they can promote.